Yahweh, Bashem, Yahushai, Bashem, Makakodash.
Honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessing to the elect. We out here once again. We're gonna go right into it. The Madman, the Nihilists, and Civil War. Okay, and as we all know, right, you had the whole mayoral race slash election, as they call it, so-called election, where they basically voted in this guy, Mamdani. And you got shows you how simple-minded these people are, right? You had people that went there to vote for him just because I think his name had Kwame in it. Yeah, which is like a Ghanaian, his middle name, right? It's like similar to like a Ghanaian name. And so you had a lot of people that just went in there, and a lot of them don't even understand. They can't even define socialism. They can't even spell the words, right? They don't look at what it is that he has said he's going to do. They don't look at what it is. They don't look at any of that. All right. They just in their minds, it's like, oh, he's the guy that everybody's for. So shit, let's go and do it. But it's going to show you because they're playing right into the hands of these elites. All right, and they're doomed. All right, they're doomed. Matter of fact, let's start with Psalm 64. All right, because as it goes into the heart of the elites being deep, that's why they got these people in the trick bag. Okay, they have these people fully deceived, and they don't even know what's about to hit them. Because that guy, he looks like he's going to be the poster boy of the Civil War, you know. And basically, before he even got in there, he was already speaking, and they foreshadowed it, right? Before he even got in there, he was already speaking like he was already mayor. Oh, when I'm mayor, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and it's like, bro, you know, there's limitations to what a mayor can do, right? And you speaking as though like you're the president, you know. And usually, when people speak like that, it goes to show you that their intentions aren't small. You know, in his mind, a mayor is just a starting place, but he's just like another puppet, like Zelensky, that they put in there. You know, because on the bigger scale, they got to make sure the story looks good and people believe it and buy into it to justify the the draconian measures that they're going to take upon these people very soon. And as they were saying, man, he's basically going to destroy this place. Got a lot of people fleeing out of New York because of that. You know, because he's talking about all these things he's going to make free, that he's going to increase taxes to do so. Well, genius, you know, if making everything free was a solution, sure, it would have been done a long time ago, right? But that's not how it works. You can't just go about trying to say you're going to make everything free. Those are just words to basically soothe and lull the minds of the people, okay, to reel them in. That's the bait, to reel them in. But they're going to find out real soon, you know, that behind the scenes, how is this guy coming in there on talking about some Muslim joint? You know, meanwhile, he's buddy with the Jays, with the small hats, you know, and his face alone, you can see it on his face. You know, he's like another reverse. It's like the reverse because he's like a different version of Haman. You know, that's the kind of spirit that he's in, and people gonna find out real soon because the Lord is about to turn things up as we go into next year. Anyway, what we got? Yeah, we can get that. Nah, just get the point. Goes into the heart being deep, and also Micah 2:1.
This is Psalm 64:6. They search out iniquities. They accomplish a diligent search. Both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep.
Yeah, they accomplish a diligent search. So they know over the span of all these years, they research and monitor the people. They keep on checking your pulse. They have little events go on here and there. They have certain op-ed articles come out. They have polls, and they use that to gauge, you know, the mindset of the people. They use metrics that they get from these social media platforms. How many people are engaging with what kind of posts? How many people are liking it? How many people are sharing it? Who are they sharing it with? What are the people who are seeing it? What are their reactions? What do the comment sections say? They analyze all of those. And now with AI, it's not an individual that has to do it, you know, or you just feed that into a pipeline and it'll just spit out and tell you, oh, well, majority of blacks, you know, are in support of this. They actually believe it. And we know that based on how they're commenting on it or how they're liking and sharing it amongst themselves. And that lets them know on a higher scale, you know, through that funnel system, oh, okay, so it looks like when we do this, they react that way. When we do this, they react that way. So if we want to get them to go this way, we got to do this. All right. So as it says, the heart is deep because they study these things. in the irrational behaviors of human beings, and what triggers it and how to exploit it. And that's why they get you every single time. You would have thought, as the saying goes, what's that? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. You would think that these people would stop and say, wait, they got us already with Biden. Then they got us again with Trump. And then they got you again. They've been doing that since the beginning. People ain't never, I got you. People ain't never realized you go from Republican to Democrat, back to Republican, back to Democrat, because each of them come in rolling the red carpet for the other, You know, that's why it's called controlled opposition. Got it.
There's another saying that it goes by, a mistake repeated is a decision. So it's like it's no coincidence. It's intentional.
And you know why they keep, the thing about it is it's becoming more and more blatant now, but yet they keep falling for it. So when you start to analyze that, you realize, no. It's not that the devil is becoming more cunning, but the people are becoming dumber and dumber and less aware. And that's why now, like, we call Esau tacky, but to the average folk, he ain't tacky because they can't see through what he's doing. But he's damn near, you know what I'm saying? It's like a dude comes to the bank, you know, and he's trying to act all low key and shit. And his gun falls out and with a black ski mask. Hey, oh shit, silly me. Puts it back in his coat and walks away. And yeah, whatever. And they just keep on doing what they're doing. That's how they got these people. And we sitting in there watching this joint, like, man. So the security guard in the security room just watched this guy do this shit, and he just like went back to what he was doing. That's how they got these people. And then surprise, surprise, he goes to the bathroom, and then some random guy comes out with a mask on and the same gun that fell out. You know, I'm robbing the bank. Oh shit, no shit, Sherlock. You know, that's literally where they got these people. So when they come out and they start, what are they doing now with the whole SNAP benefits thing? They've been playing badminton with the minds and the emotions of the people. First, they said, you know what, we're gonna cut the SNAP program, and then a judge said, no, you got to use the emergency funds to bring it back. Then they said, no, we're gonna appeal it. Then they said, you know what, we're gonna fund half of it throughout the month of November. And then they say, you know what, fuck it, we're gonna fund the whole thing. Then they go and appeal to the Supreme Court and say, no, please stop this because we don't want to fund it. And then the Supreme Court says, all right, we're going to hold it. Interestingly enough, I saw something yesterday that said it was one of them who was with that to uphold Trump's cutting of that funding was Ketanji Brown or whatever. Yeah, there's the so-called black chick. And you would think, oh, wow, wouldn't she be in support of feeding millions of people, of her majority of her own people? But they got people in this mental loop. They're tiring out your brains. They got you running left, right. Eventually, you can't think. And that's when they come in for the kill. So these people are through. Where we at?
Got Revelation 13 and 11. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. Yeah, so as the brother, you know, as the title of the camp, the topic we've been going into through the spirit, you know, it had two horns as a lamb, but it speaks as a dragon. So a lamb is a docile creature that, you know, you're supposed to be able to trust, something like that, right? It's a peaceful creature, right? The lamb, Yahweh Shai is known as the lamb, right? But they're presenting themselves as that lamb. This is your salvation. This is your savior. This is your peace. Okay, but what is it really? A dragon. The two horns representing the two-party system. The Democrats and the Republicans, all right? And they're both really just two gangs, okay? And they have it to where people really think that these elections and this shit matters. These people really think that this shit matters, okay? They really think that, oh, you know, Mamdani winning, but this was a blue state. They were supposed to go Democrat. We have had a few Republican mayors over the last year. We had Giuliani. Bloomberg is like, what is he, like in between? I don't know what he is exactly, but he's still a devil and he's working. It's all part of the same shit. That's the point. It doesn't matter. Okay. And they played it. They put on the hat. Okay. In order to have this back and forth and rile up people's minds. So Mamdani made the speech when he won. This is a city built by immigrants. Yeah. A city of immigrants and now run by an immigrant. This nigga act like he got a standing army. You're a mayor of a city, bro. You know what I'm saying? Dude acting like he really got that power. You talking about the federal government, Donald Trump? You're not even the governor of a state.
You're the mayor. Okay, so you can instruct the NYPD, but a lot of them, they're not even fucking with you. The NYC fire department chief resigned as soon as he heard about this guy. He's like, man, I'm out of here. A lot of more of them going to resign. They're not dealing with that because they know, oh, you want to go toe to toe with the federal government? I didn't sign up for this shit. I'm out. So good luck. You're gonna pull homeless bums off the street and put a NYPD cap on them and have them fight ICE in the National Guard. Good luck. But again, that two horns is a lamb, spake as a dragon. We're seeing that play out 100% HD, man.
Right.
All right. Whatever the high definition TV is, I forget what they call that shit, 4K, whatever.
Yep.
And we're seeing it HD, live and direct, man. So you're seeing that this guy is clearly set up. He came out of nowhere. He's only 36 years old. Or, matter of fact, he's 34, I think. He's younger than me. I'm like, damn, mayor of New York City, younger than me, and nobody knows who the hell this guy is. And he just pops up on the political scene. Now he's basically the face of the Democratic Party. How did this happen? What experience does he have? Nobody asks these questions. They just pop up with these characters, and people are like, oh, yeah, he's the guy now. Oh, yeah, I like what he's saying about this and that. Free shit, like the brother was saying. But what is that tied to, man? Y'all want to fight with the federal government? You know, it's all vain talk, just talking. It was like when Nebuchadnezzar was rolling through in one of these cities that he's about to stomp out, the head of the city said, well, I'm not going to stand for this. Well, what are you going to do? The Lord is with this man. How could they stand against Nebuchadnezzar when he was in his prime kicking ass? Because the Lord had ordained him to do that. Same thing with Trump. So you're going to step up to him, okay? And it ain't going to go the way people think it is. Just like these so-called black women on social media talking about how they're going to be linebackers running through people when looting goes on. It's not going to go down like that, okay? It's not, all right? And Jake is talking about how they're going to loot. Hey, that's all part of proxy too. They're going to raise hell, but they also going to have an equal response, which is they're going to shut them grocery stores down. And then where are you going to eat? Y'all niggas don't have food. You rely on the so-called white man for food, okay? You go to your enemy for the want of all things. But here it is. No, we're going to buck up. You don't even have a garden, nigga. You don't know how to even plant a seed. So what are you prideful for? You need to humble down and beg the Lord to deliver us, man. You know, and live a quiet life like the scriptures say. But y'all over here talking on social media like, come get me, nigga. You know? So you're going to get what you're looking for. You're going to get your issue.
Yeah. And he got now that's the thing they're doing. What's that other chick, the Somalian chick? Yeah, her. She had a thing where she was speaking in her and some other guy. He also looked like he was Somalian, and they was basically speaking in their foreign language the whole entire time, riling up supporters. And then this guy, and the thing about him being just a mayor is that's how they all start off. And then people start asking like, yo, but he's just a mayor. Like, how is he able to do this? Like, who gave him the power? It's like when Elon Musk was up in the White House getting access to people's personal records and shit. They're like, how the hell? Who put him in there? And it's going to be the same thing with this guy. They're going to say, how is he? When did he get the power to do that? Why is it that he's saying this and people are following it? Like he's a ringleader of some sort. Now, with the whole Muslim community that's like rallying behind him, over there in the UK, go see what that place has become. I remember I was doing a video, I did a video on it a while back, and you basically had, like, it was just all out. You know, they had this something Muslim association where it was like a group just going around, just jumping people, you know, beating them up. And a lot of the violence that's going on, you know, the assaults that's happening over there in the UK, they're saying it's because of the migrants. So isn't it interesting how they under Biden, they open up the borders, they flood in the city with migrants, right? And then Trump comes in there and says, all right, I'm gonna clean it up. So they gave him an entry in there. And then through what Trump is doing, they gave this guy an entry in there because now they're like, oh, we got somebody to be a face and a voice for the migrants, you know? Because he wouldn't have a role to play if there were no migrants in the country, you know, if it wasn't like an influx, you know? So they set everything up. You know, one person comes up in there, then he lays the ladder out for the next to climb up in there. You know, and that's why they waiting for this guy. They waited for him to get in there before now the real battle begins. You know, this side against that guy, this side against this side. And you're gonna see, you know, but I know Haran, I don't know if you got something, but you know, you could go into the naming thing, you know, the guy's name and all that. Hey, Shalom, Akim. Can you hear me?
Right.
Yeah, much better, brother. And yeah, that's the spirit that you said that because yesterday through the spirit I was just kind of like reading some articles and basically came to the conclusion that this whole government shutdown really is the beginning of the Great Reset here in America. All right, and it's something that we've been saying for years now, since 2020, that there's going to come a Great Reset. And of course, we talked about the plans that these devils have, the agendas, in terms of, eventually you're going to have martial law. The power might go out, the economy is going to collapse. All these different things were stages that they will go through in order to bring about that so-called New World Order where you will own nothing and you'll be happy by 2030. So we're in the year 2025. So pretty much 4 more years, we're going to be in 2030 if we're still here. But willing, we're not. Okay. But these are all the signs that leads to the destruction of America, Babylon, the Great. But in the midst of that, we get to see the chaos. So I know for months now you've been talking about this Zohan, this Zohan dude, and I was going into his name. I did a lesson. I mentioned it in the lesson that when you actually do the anagram for his name, Mamdani, you actually get either Madman or Madmani, right? Zohan, Madmani, whatever. It turns out that on his mother's side, he's actually a jinn. You know what I'm saying? So he's a small hat from his mother's side. So when you go to small hats, they're the way they pass on their inheritance is through their mother's side, which goes to show you that they're fraudulent anyway, because the true Israelites, we pass down our inheritance through the father. Okay, so you carry your father's seed and so on and so forth, and you carry on the line. So knowing that he's a J, and then now he's pushing for what they call socialism, right? He's a socialist, right? Do you understand that socialism comes before communism? Socialism is a stage before communism. And when you watch the interview that Trump did with the 60 Minutes, the lady asked him, she pretty much brought up Madman, and she said, he's a socialist. And then Trump corrected her and said, no, he's a communist. He's a communist. All right, he's worse than a socialist. So, you go into the words and you actually find out more about these terminologies that these devils use. This is all Great Reset set up right here. All right, 2026, they're going to probably push more. Not probably, they will push more, all right, to bring about the least amount of ownership you can have. So these SNAP benefits and all that, this is all part of the birth pains. You go into Matthew 24, Yahweh talks about the beginning of sorrows. This is all part of it. All right. Soviet Russia, right, when you think of the time of but they did the whole revolution. This is all part of it. What you see back in the Soviet Russia, okay? And then eventually you had Joseph Stalin who came in, and what did he do? He did the same exact thing that Trump is starting to do right now, okay? Which is using militarizing the police, using the military as a police force, okay? Basically doing away with the checks and balances, right? All the power is being brought over to the executive branch, which is totalitarianism. So you have communism and totalitarianism. Communism pretty much pushes the idea that you're abolishing any form of ownership by people, right? There's no private ownership anymore. And that's what Mamdani's saying, right? You had this guy, he's a supermarket owner in New York, right? He owns a lot of these supermarkets, Castabides, I think that's his name. He said if Mamdani comes in, he's leaving, because this guy is saying that he's going to make all the supermarkets be state-owned, right? Government-owned. So there'll be no more private ownership. That's the beginning of that. Okay, and once that happens, like I sure mentioned, the head of the fire department, he said, I'm out of here. Why? Because he understands this guy coming in is going to escalate the chaos that leads to that order, which says pretty much no one gets to own anything anymore. All right, we will fund you, we will take care of everything. These SNAP benefits that's going on, eventually they go into the healthcare. That's what Trump has been pushing. The government has pretty much become the biggest drug dealers, because you give Pfizer a $70 billion contract, and then you follow up the next couple of weeks and say, we're bringing down the price for Ozempic drugs. So the government is pretty much the biggest drug dealer on the market right now. They're pushing billions of dollars of drugs on the people. When you're worried about SNAP benefits and food not being in your house, you got women crying in their cars because they got $23 to live off of, and there's no assurance of no food. You got military people joining long lines to go to the food pantry for food, and this guy is pushing Ozempic from $1,300 to $50. Oh, that's such a great drop, right? And you got that other clown, that asshat RFK. We told you about that devil, man. We told you that the whole reason why they put RFK in there is all creating confusion. They put RFK in there to lure in the people who were rebelling against the jump shot when they brought it out back in 2020.
all those conservatives say, oh, we don't want no jump shot, da da da. This then will come out and say that, oh, we've taken out all the what's the mercury? We've taken out the mercury out of the mRNA shots, so now it's safe. You can go take it. But you're the same nigga who said, oh, we're going against the jump shots. He pushed that, and we said no. His job was to bring it. His job was to literally garner the support of the people who are against the jump shots, the so-called conservatives. And guess what? They're all eating up that post option right now. They're up to the side, and then what do we give them? They drop on the back. Somebody drop over there, man. Okay. So when you look at the scheme, everything that's playing out right now, bro, they said a whole bunch of Democratic states. A lot of these this midterm election thing that happened, governors, mayors, and all that. A lot of these states turn from Republicans to Democrats because they're not okay with what Trump is doing. What's that going to do? That's setting up a stage for what? Civil war. Okay. Oh no. And they were saying it. Salaki, I just got a message from Mr. Kwan. But I'll address that in a few minutes. You say something about the Chinese side is not Jay and all that. They actually have their man in power type shit. You know what I mean? And when you look at it, again, he's going to be the so-called driving force to bring in the chaos that they need here in New York. And who's he going up against? He came out straight up. He's saying, Trump. He's pushing up against Trump. Meanwhile, they all work together. Okay? He's being brought to the table and told, hey, this is what you're going to do. This is the role you're going to play. Right? This is how you're going to push it. Right? You're going to come out boldly and tell people, yeah, I'm a socialist and this is what we're going to do. And people are gonna jump in and vote for you like it matters. Right? But meanwhile, they got their guy in place and he's the right person to bring in that confusion that we've been talking about. Okay? So yeah, man, you're gonna see a whole lot of bullshit coming around. But we're gonna do a separate lesson and address, what the Saquon said, just bring more clarity to it. All right. But you got it, bro.
Gone. Yeah, and hey, I got you. And yeah, just like you said, these characters they put in there anyway. So openly, like the Zaquan was saying that, his mom, you may do the research on there and find out maybe she isn't J-ish. But I mean, me personally, I suspect that he got some J blood in him somewhere in his line. You know what I mean? Because if you look at what's been going on, actually, the Jays have been cracking down. I feel like there's something going on behind the scenes where these Jays are cracking down more and more. Now, number one is the Jays to openly endorse somebody, because I saw a video of him. He was with the Jays. I remember that. He was with them with the caps and the little curly sideburns and shit. Basically like laughing and chilling with him and shit. And they captioned it like, oh, like, look at this guy. He's so amazing. He's basically good with everybody. He's good with the Jays. He's good with the Muslims. He's good with the migrants. He's good with everybody. That's what we need to bring unity and shit. The Jays don't want unity. If the Jays wanted unity, they wouldn't be doing what they were doing over there in the Middle East. They don't want unity. So for them to endorse a guy like this, man, there's a lot of inside things going on. And I say that because just recently, is it by coincidence that you had Mayweather come out of nowhere under dress? You can see his face. He looked like a freaking child that's in trouble, And he's he's saying that, hey, I just want to say, I stand with y'all all the way. It was so of like, why out of nowhere are you saying that now? Then apparently, what was it? Yeah, I was about to say that. Then apparently something with Kanye. Now they got on him too. So whatever they're saying behind the scenes, they're telling these people like, look, we about to really like turn shit up. So no more leeway, no more, you get to say this and you get to go. No. And that goes to show you they're the hidden hand behind the scenes. Pulling the puppet master, pulling the string here, pulling the string there, and people don't see it. But they are getting ready, man. In that letter from Albert Pike to Giuseppe Mazzini, they mentioned they're gonna unleash the Nihilists. That's what they said. When you unleash something, it's like something you've had in your reserve, and you're now about to like make it open and like let it on the people. And this guy, you're gonna see the Nihilists, which are these crazed people that they probably sent the Nihilists up in the country when they opened up them borders and just had them staying there stationed up in their different positions. But the Lord mentioned that one people shall stand up to fight against another, right? In second Esdras, with swords in their hands. it's about to take a very violent turn. Now it's no longer about making say the Republicans making the Democrats look bad, or them making these guys look bad, and like they're not trying to outdo each other and say like, oh, we did this is why you should vote for us. No. Now it's like we're against them. They're the enemy now. Look at what they're doing. We gotta do away with them. And Trump keeps pushing for this abolishment of the filibuster, you know, and he keeps telling them, oh, look, these Democrats, they causing chaos, you know what I'm saying? We're gonna need to do something about this. We're gonna need to do something about this. And he's at the edge. He's like teetering right there at the edge of jumping straight into dictatorship. This is like the moment before Julius Caesar crossed the Rubicon and declared war on the Senate. And they need a cause for that. Because Julius didn't do that for no reason. So now that they got this guy in there, if the courts or anybody tries to get in Trump's way, he's like, no, ain't no way I'm gonna sit back and let a communist or a socialist come into our capitalist country and try to turn it around. That's like subversion. And that's what they're gonna play. They're gonna play communists versus capitalists, you know, Republicans versus Democrats, migrants versus non-migrants. It's division everywhere. That's a house divided. You got it, bro.
Right. Yeah, y'all brothers pretty much said it, but I was gonna add, you know, New York is J-E-W York at the end of the day. This place is run by small hats. This is like small hat heaven over here. So they're not gonna let nobody be mayor unless they down with what they want. Okay. And the dude that they just put in there, all right, by putting him there, they're letting you know they have forsaken New York City altogether.
Sure.
And remember, Trump is a New Yorker to begin with. Okay. So he's looking at it like, damn, you trying to take, this is my city at the end of the day, you know? And he even said, when you heard his comments about the new mayor, he said basically, you know, I'm torn about it, blah, blah, blah. But this is going to be his moment to really take back what he feels like is his. Okay. Because now it's the opposite, completely polar opposite. So it gives him a good boogeyman to fight against. It gives him a good boogeyman to fight against. But I did want to bring this out real quick. Psalms 33 and 16. There is no king saved by the multitude of an host. A mighty man is not delivered by much strength. So for all this beating on his chest, you know, at the end of the day, these people don't fear the Lord. So Trump can't deliver himself. Mom Daddy can't deliver himself, okay? They're all going to be subject to the will of the Lord. And horse is a vain thing for safety, neither shall he deliver any by his great strength. And horses represent power. Okay, in wartime, you had a lot of horses. That means that you have an upper hand. Okay, and horsepower for cars, things like that. So horses represent power. But relying on that alone for deliverance is vain. Okay, so whatever the right is talking about, whatever the left is talking about, it's all vain at the end of the day. And it says, behold, the eye of Yahweh is upon them that fear him, upon them that hope in his mercy. And that's the Lord's men. So we in the midst, you know, we prophesy in this city, and they talking about all hell getting ready to break loose here. Hey, we shouldn't be 1% worried about that. We ain't even 1% worried about that, man, because we know Yahweh Hashem Yahushua got us. He's shown us through various trials in our life, first and foremost, bringing us into this truth, showing us his name, that we're going to be good. So while all this is going on, the Nihilists, the Madman, the this, the that, right? Breaking it down. But remember that we, Yahweh Hashem Yahushua's men, Lord's will we be those men, are going to be straight, man. We're going to be good. And I'm going to read this verse. I'm going to give it to the next brother. It says, to deliver their soul from death and to keep them alive in famine. So, hey, it's going to be famine, okay? We just told you, riots, things like that is going to lead to famine, all right? All the things that's going on, orchestrated famine. There's more than enough with globalism and the amount of the infrastructure and the what's the word I'm looking for, the logistics that they have to get things from point A to point B. There should be no reason for a famine on any part of the earth. Right. The earth has more than enough to bring forth, but it's the design. It's an orchestrated famine, and those be some of the worst famines that's by man's design. Bro.
No, I said about.
Yeah, you got it.
Oh, you just ended like quick like that.
Nah, yeah, because I want you to make it.
Okay, my bad. I was talking about God. No, I just want to add on to your point about the stability that the Lord gives us. And one thing I want to, the way I want to, attack this essentially if you look at the things that we consume ourselves with as opposed to people in the world, it's totally different. We consume ourselves with scriptures. We watch other videos that brothers do, so that way we're always on point. We always know what's going on. So that way, what? We're not afraid, and we have the understanding. The Lord has given us the understanding of the things to come. So when we see, certain things like, hey, riots may break out, we're not afraid of these things because why? We understand, and each time a brother will do a lesson, right, on the YouTube, so it's like, okay, we're up on game. Like it says in, if I'm not mistaken, Thessalonians. Damn. All right, I gotta get it. I got it for you. Is the second Thessalonians or the first Thessalonians? Oh, I get confused on that. And to be revealed? No, not that. Damn, no, it might be first Thessalonians. 5? Yeah, why is my brain?
So the instruction means 5. They're the children of light. They're not of darkness.
Yeah, there we go. But the time yeah, sorry.
Okay, yeah, I got you. 1 Thessalonians 5:1. But of the times and the seasons, brethren, ye have no need that I write unto you.
Right. So why is that? Because you already put up on game as to what's going on. But the reason why I said this is because just recently I was on the computer and I heard my father watching something, and I don't know what channel it was. Yeah, I know. I'm always like claiming my parents to some degree. Anytime I was done like some shit with him. But essentially he was watching some video where it was like this person going off on how how the system is like it just brings you down to this and that. It's like then I know what he's gonna want to do. He's gonna want to talk about it. Like I'm not like I don't have that mindset where I'm like worried about the system and things like that. Why? Because I know that the system is already corrupt. I already know that. Two, I already know that the system is going down. Even he's told me like, yo, this America's going down. I'm like, dude, I told you that before you even told me that. So what are you coming to me about this for? But okay, I guess the shit I say is just falls on deaf ears. But essentially, I'm not worried about like how my parents are, like people in the world. If you listen to them, they're worried. They're scared. They're like, yo, like sometimes I hear my mother say, yo, Trump is like gonna destroy the whole country. I think it's like, good, let him do that. We need him to do that. We need them to do these things. Why? Because we understand prophecy. So one of the things that helps with stability is an understanding of the scriptures. That helps so that way you're not bugging out and losing your mind over these things.
Good morning.
Oh, yeah.
1 Thessalonians 5:2. For yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night.
Right. A thief in the night. A thief comes at the night when you're least expecting, when you're at rest. And that's something that a lot of people want here in America. They want to be at rest. They want to be calm. They want things to go back the way it was before 2019.
For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape.
Right, so that's gonna come upon. I even did a lesson recently where I like using illustrations from videos, and like what Apostle Paul used to say, illustration of a woman who's pregnant, and when she is about to give birth, what happens, right? In the video, the woman starts going, oh, and then out of nowhere, they don't show it, but they start saying agua, agua, which is what the water broke. So it's like, oh, agua, agua. You gotta get her like go somewhere. It was in Spanish. I couldn't find an English one. And then after that, you see the woman. She's in labor and she has to do and push the child out. And that's essentially how these last days are gonna be. You're not gonna be able to fix it. You're gonna have to deal with it. The same thing like a woman. It's not like if you ever watch that episode, if you know what I'm talking about, like Dragon Ball Super, when Bulma was pregnant and Whis, he just like used his staff and popped the baby out. It's not going to be anything like that. No, you're going to have to go through that whole painful process. Like the woman, how she goes, they're like, push. She's like, you see the head? Come on, keep going. And she goes, ah, all that. That's how Jacob Stroh's going to be.
It's like Goku. Powering up, bro.
I tried to give like I tried to give like a woman, but it came out masculine. But essentially, it's going to be that same thing where people are going to. There's not going to be like, damn, like when is it going to stop? No, it's the same thing like a woman. When she's giving birth, there is no like, damn, like how much more? Like you said, the head was out. Like, all right, is the rest of him out? Like, what's taking so long? I've been pushing forever now.
Hey, I was gonna say you mentioned something. You just mentioned something. Damn, it escaped me. But the thought that came to my mind was, damn, you said something. But I was, they wanted to take things to how it was 2019 before the whole thing. And what came to mind was how during the lockdowns, right, you had a lot of people that were doing videos, and they were doing videos talking about, oh, we got to get right. Oh, they're doing this. They're coming against us. We got to band together. We got to start praying. Yeah, this woman that came on there talking about, let's all. It doesn't matter what you. It doesn't matter what you believe. Let's all come together and pray to our gods, pray to the universe, and then and have them deliver us from this situation. And even though they were off, it was like they were forced to become sober-minded because everything else was shut down. Literally, basketball games, all sports were shut down, clubs were shut down, everything was shut down, and people were just like stuck having to just be at home. Now, usually when you're at home, you got people that'll watch the game, right? Or they'll watch something if they can't attend it. But that's the things that keep them entertained. But now they were at home without any of those things, right? And so that lockdown was like a period of silence, for a certain period of time. And instead of them to get right, the second they opened things back up, they ran right back. And matter of fact, you see now wickedness has actually become worse now than it was prior to the whole lockdowns. And what came to my mind was during the when the Babylonians came to besiege Jerusalem, and yeah, man, they just can't get it right. They said, you know what? They here. Let's make a covenant and let's obey the words of the Lord. So let's free all of our Hebrew slaves, and they all made a covenant. They entered into a deal. They said, we'll free all our Hebrew slaves, and you know what? Maybe that'll please the Lord, and then we'll be all right. And then at that point, the Lord had the Egyptians come in and basically drove the Babylonians away for a period of time. These motherfuckers, they freed the slaves, and then not long after, they said, nah, it ain't gonna work. Hey, come back. You gotta serve me some more. Because now they're like, well, I'm losing out on this, I'm losing out on that. I'm like, what came over me to freedom anyway? No, I'm all right. Because the hell wasn't directly on them, So they forgot that quickly. They forgot. And they say, you know what, let's put them right back in slavery. And the Lord said, oh yeah, you niggas are done. First off, I wasn't even gonna give you mercy, but because of that gesture you did, I thought that maybe I could grant you some mercy. And you went and not only broke a covenant that you made, you went and broke my law on top of that. And then he sent them right back on their ass. So the reason I was saying that is that period of time should have been an eye opener for Jake to say that, yo, clearly something is going on here, and looks like they're putting pieces into play and so on and so forth. Let's really get right with the Lord, because if he can cause a standstill to come to the whole world, what else can he do? But no, that's not what came into their minds. They were just complaining and complaining and complaining and complaining. And if they were really about the things that they said or the heart change that they had, they would have continued in that way. But they didn't. The second things opened back up, they were right back on there, grinding on TGs in a club somewhere. And now, let's say pre-lockdown, they would do it in secret. Post-lockdown, they would try to justify it in the open, and say, no, you ain't a sodomy, you ain't a sodomy if you deal with a TG. And if you against it, you're just a hater. All this shit. And now once again, they got this ringleader over there talking about, man, I'm telling you, man, it's something about the guy's face. Just something about that ugly ass mustache that's on there with the light shaven cut. It's just something about it, man. I'm telling you. And he ain't talking about for what was it, the Senegalese aunties and the freaking Dominican bodega owners and I'm just like, man, I don't know what's more infuriating to see, this nigga's face or the dumbass sheeple that are right on top following him. He's like Napoleon not Bonaparte, but Napoleon from Animal Farm. If you've ever read that book by George Orwell, who came up in there, and guess what? He started changing everything. And these people are like Boxer, which was the faithful horse. And you know what happened to Boxer? He did everything Napoleon said. And you know what happened? They took him to the slaughterhouse and killed his ass. And right before that happened, there was a dog. I mean, I watched the movie of it, but there was a dog and I think the sheep and a few other animals in the animal farm. And they basically got the heads up and they left. They fled, because things started, like Napoleon came up in there on some like, oh, I'm opposing old Major or something like that. I think that was the original guy. And so he comes up in there, he makes him look bad, he gets him out of there. Napoleon starts setting up agents, spies everywhere here and there. And then he starts to become totalitarian. But they were able to escape before all that happened. And Animal Farm I think went over a lot of people's heads because they would read it in high school and stuff, and oh yeah, it's just a book about animals and shit. They didn't connect the dots. That Animal Farm, you are the animals. That was talking about a totalitarian society that they're gonna. Because George Orwell, that's his theme. That was talking about the totalitarian future by the new totalitarians. If you know, that they were setting up. And he just used animals because he couldn't make it too obvious. That's why the book is still available. He used animals to represent the people and the different positions and the different roles that they would play in society. And now, if you've been paying attention, on top of all these things that are happening with the AI advancements too, you have a lot of these big companies forming deals with each other. NVIDIA, OpenAI, Amazon, OpenAI, Amazon. NVIDIA, what's his name? The OpenAI made a deal with Amazon for more compute because they know like Amazon is like one of the powerhouses in that field. And now it's like these giant big tech companies are all making deals with each other. And now the problem becomes, well, if they were like 5 monoliths and now they've joined into one super monolith that are connected because they're like, all right, if Amazon, let's say, is like the top dog in compute, I'm not gonna go in and I'm OpenAI and I'm focusing on AI. Why am I gonna, try to compete with Amazon when it comes to compute? That's not my specialty, right? And Amazon's going, well, why am I gonna compete with OpenAI when it comes to AI? That's not my specialty. So why not let us work together and build something even greater? I provide the compute, you provide the models, along with these. Everybody got their thing that they're gonna bring in, and then that's really the heart that they're putting, the life that they're putting into the beast, because that monster of a system that they're gonna say, oh, Microsoft, that's the one. Yep, Khan. That's the other company I was trying to remember too as well. The water's gone. Microsoft as well. So now you're like, yo, these are all like top big tech companies that used to compete with each other. In historical times, you had some of them even get sued, some even by the government, for their practices and for monopolizing the game, so to speak. And now they're making deals with each other. They're talking about NVIDIA is getting closer or 1,000% return on their investments. I'm like, that's very, very interesting. So all these things are not by coincidence. It is if you're not paying attention. But when you see how the things on this part and then the things on that part and the things on that part are all sort of built, setting up, you start to get the picture. Here it is. You got construction workers building a building here, then a building here. Then they go and contract road workers. And then they start building railroads. Then they start building roads. Eventually, you're going to get the picture that, yeah, these guys are building cities. Because if you're building a building here and a building there, you're gonna need some way to connect them. Then all of a sudden you got railroads. That means you're gonna need trains. If you got roads, you're gonna need cars. If you got airports, you're gonna need planes. You start to piece the pictures, piece the pieces together to see the bigger picture. But these people, not in a million years. And the Lord has kept them that way. What does it say in Isaiah 6? How long, O Lord? And he said, till the cities be overrun without inhabitants. That's how long they're going to stay in this dumbed down, docile state. And the Lord always tells you that whenever he has Israel in a case like this, because he's seeking an occasion to bring destruction to them. Like with the sons of Eli. The Lord said when Eli reprimanded them, they didn't listen because the Lord wanted to kill them. Because had they listened and repented, now what would be the cause? But by continuing that way, the Lord is like, no, you're going to stay in this way because that way I'm justified when I bring judgment upon you. And the Lord is about to be justified because you're going to sit in your car and cry about not having toilet paper, or having $11 in your account for the rest of the month. And then you'll turn around and still see carnal means to survival. How do you think you're entitled to SNAP and food stamps? That's a government assistance program, right? So they can decide if they're going to give that to you or not. You got Jake on here acting like they're entitled to it. It wasn't your money that went into it because you ain't working. It's other people's money that is going into that. But you acting like that it was made for me. In their minds, they're thinking, well, it's a program for people who are in positions like me. So why should I go and work? Then who's going to use it? So let me use it. But now the Lord is showing you the beginning of sorrows. No longer are you being nurtured from the face of the serpent anymore. Now the serpent has fattened you up enough to where he's about to eat. And ain't no food around but you. You ate all the food, so now you the food.
Yeah, hey, in the scriptures it says if anybody don't work, they don't eat.
Right.
That's according to the scriptures. So at the end of the day, they made it to where people associate work with bad. So they're so brainwashed to where they think like, yo, if I even admit that because they might actually think about like, shit, I might have to go get a job. But they own these videos like, I ain't working because they're looking at it like, well, if I admit that I'm gonna work, then I don't need Snap. So I have to stick to this line of thinking of I'm never gonna work. And it's like, bro, you're losing the plot here. You know what I'm saying? You're missing the point. And you're not understanding that it ain't even about that. They want you to completely conform and consent. All right, so that they can put that MOTB up in you. All right, and this is where the UBI, everything brothers been talking about, is coming into play. Okay, so you have these people that are stuck on, I'm not gonna work, I'm not gonna work, I'm not gonna work. Okay, but they already telling you you're not gonna get the benefits. So, okay, if you're not gonna work, fine, you don't even have to work. Don't worry about it. We got AI for that. But we need something from you. Otherwise, you're not gonna be a part of the system because what our people forget to consider is that this all belongs to Esau Edom. This whole system is his setup. So he has the ability to say you are outside of it or you're inside of it. They've been playing nice for a little while and like, letting Jake move around and do a different thing, but it was all for a setup. And they can't really come directly at Jake, so they got to do it in a way to where you go on. And I was watching the elders and the brothers in Baltimore, Elder Zion one was going into it, how Esau, he can't really come directly at Jake. Otherwise, it would have just eliminated all of us. But what they do is they set it up to where I'm going to set up a situation where you're going to be enticed to sin and you are going to sin. It's a system that thrives off of sin and wickedness. So when you have that mindset, all right, cool, you know what? Shit, I got to eat, so I'm going to consent to that. And your pastors in the church haven't been warning you, okay? The Nation of Islam, for all of the pop and all the shit they talking about being a Muslim and all the shit, the women love it. A lot of women love it. Bunch of whores that put on a hijab and then they talk about they Muslim. All right, but what they ain't warn you about the MOTB. Okay, who's the only ones that's doing that? The prophets of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. That's how we know we have the word of eternal life, man. Because nobody else is talking about these things and breaking it down 100%, man.
Right. Where we at? Oh, we had that in Micah, right? Yeah, let's get that.
This is the book of Micah, chapter 2 and 1, and it reads, woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it.
Yeah, and to devise iniquity means to like when it says devise devices, it means they come up with plans, okay, wicked plans and schemes that they have, and it's for a greater goal in their mind. Though they don't see what the end goal of that is going to be. They think it's going to be the destination is going to be one way, right? But the Lord has another thing planned coming for them. But this is going to be, you're going to understand why Jacob's trouble is called Jacob's trouble. You're going to understand that very soon. These beginning of sorrows are already too much for people. They're losing their minds. You had the chick that looked like the green dinosaur from Barney, and they were recording her. No, the other one, she definitely looked like that. But no, this is some random chick. They were asking her, interviewing her about the cutting of the SNAP benefits. And she's just like, she don't know if she should cry or laugh. I don't know if that's just her face. But she's just like, there's no food. They haven't eaten in I don't know how many days. And she's just like, you can see the hurt on her face. That food was really troubling her. And she had the pink braids in her hair. You're like, oh shit, you got money to get pink braids? Yeah. And so she's like, yo, we whatever it is they need to do, they got to do it quick. Because I don't know how long we're gonna last. We need that food. she definitely was. She let out the grill and everything. Reporter might need to wash some hands. But hey, that's just going to show you like the face of terror or the face of sorrows. Because when you're in a position like that, look, the one thing you cannot escape is food, and that's just by natural design. And then even in the wilderness, the Lord had to feed Israel because he knew that we need those things. We have need of those things. And Esau is going to use that. Just like when you go back into ancient Egypt, Joseph used that to gain, to give Pharaoh power over the people to the point where who's going to come out in their right minds and say, yo, I'm going to sell myself into slavery? But for food, they did. They sold their property, they sold their land, they sold their cattle, they sold everything until the thing that was left to be sold was them. And that's exactly what they're gonna do. They're gonna use that. They're gonna use those manufactured famines, and they're gonna starve people out because when it comes to food, man, when you're full, you don't see it, right? When you're full, you can't imagine being hungry. You see other people eating, and you feel, how can you eat right now? When you're hungry, you can't imagine being full. You just know that you're feeling the pain of hunger and you need to eat. And then you're not in your, it's actually scientific. Like certain chemicals are released in your body and eventually starts to affect you to where you can't reason properly when you're hungry. The whole Snickers commercial, "You're not you when you're hungry," that was actually it wasn't just a skit, okay? There's actually truth to that. When they say you're not you when you're hungry, and most of the time, what was the commercial showing? Was the commercial showing people being very happy and generous to others when they're hungry? No, it was showing people acting all angry, ruthless and like crazy and like all bugging out. And then when they eat the Snickers bar, which is the food, they calm down again. I think one of them was like a dude who was in like a Yeti or something costume, like a black, weird creature. And then when he ate the Snickers bar, he was like, he calmed down and shit. So they sort of play around with it, but there's truth to that. But the problem is, you people are not going to get food. There's some people that are going to have to starve to death. And the scriptures tell you in the book of Lamentations that you're better off dying by either getting shot or stabbed or something like that than to actually starve to death. And yet people walk about without a clue in their lives that, in their minds, that very soon the life you live is about to be disrupted. It's going to start with people who depend on SNAP, but once they cut off the SNAP, they're going to come for the regular folks. The rich class is going to be no more, and then they're going to move on to the middle class. I heard an interview where there was this chick was talking about Mamdani should tax, obviously she said he should tax the rich people, right, to fund all this free stuff, and then when the rich people leave, he should tax the middle class. And I'm looking at her like, you look like you belong in the middle class, but you don't even understand what you're saying, because who you think is going to be affected by that? So these people, they don't think. They're like, what's her name? Sukihana? I don't think, I just do. That's them. Yeah, bird brain. A bird got a bigger brain than them. Because a bird is sensible enough to know when to migrate from the danger, when to flee away. These niggas sit right there and look at it. Like, what's that guy's name? Beetlejuice. That's these niggas. They're the real Beetlejuice. Anyway, what we got?
Got a precept.
You got it.
You just referenced Genesis 47:13, and there was no bread in all the land, for the famine was very sore, so that the land of Egypt and all the land of Canaan fainted by reason of the famine.
Yeah, as I said, they fainted by reason of the famine. And the famine, once again, does not mean there's no food at all. It just means that it's very scarce. So you getting access to it is difficult. And in the ancient world, it was a very delicate matter because there was only but a few ways to get food. You had to plant, you needed plowmen, you needed husbandmen, because if you didn't have farmers.
Is it the Black Israelites?
Well, we're not Black Israelites, but we are Israelites. But in the ancient world, you didn't need, if you didn't have farmers or husbandmen, you would, how are you people gonna eat? Somebody got to plant, Somebody got to plant and somebody got to reap before you can even store in the storehouses. Now you have different means, that you can go about to like preserve food. In the ancient world, you did have some kinds of preservatives, but they weren't like now, where you can have. How is it that you got bread out in the open for like 2 weeks, and the shit just still looks fresh? And it better not be the McDonald's bread. That thing does not retire. Even the rats know better than to get to that McDonald's bread. A rat eat that shit and jump in a damn deep fryer after that. Yeah, they had like a time lapse of like of a McDonald's burger, and they just put it in like a jar or something to see how long. This guy did an experiment. He left a McDonald's wrap burger in his pocket coat for like years. He came back, took that shit out, it looked fresh. He could have gone to the street and said, "Yo, you want a burger?" and give it to somebody and they eat it. But that's what these people they fiend for, and they know that it's wrong, and they still do it. I know, but hey, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't even eat their stuff. I just get the shake, or I just get the nuggets. Bro, oh, you know what I'm saying? I don't get bitten by snake venom. I just take scorpion venom. You know what I'm saying? That one's a little lighter because the tail is smaller. That's that's what they sound like when they say these kinds of things.
Genesis 47 and 14, and Joseph gathered up all the money that was found in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan for the corn which they bought.
So the Lord used Joseph to preserve them through a vision, right? And he took right action upon that. Now you see how strategic the Lord is. Now let's say Joseph was still in jail, still in prison, jail, and they kept him there, and he never became governor. How would it matter whatever he saw in his vision? Because why would Pharaoh listen to that? Okay, you saw a famine coming, now what? But Joseph had to be in the position of influence and authority, because that way, when he commanded them to store food, they would store it. But if he wasn't in that position, it doesn't matter what he saw. It wouldn't do anybody any good, because he wasn't in control of that. That means the Egyptians would have been starving, and that means his family would have been starving, and nobody would have made it. So that shows you the whole entire reason the Lord sent Joseph from his land. Now, the means in which he did it was to try his faith, being sold by your brothers, and then to some strange land, and then being accused over there by the your Lord's wife, lying on you. Yo, when they say I think he was in prison for like 2 years or so. That's a long time to be in prison, But hey, that's how the Lord deals. You thinking, oh Lord, they threw me in prison for your name's sake, so I know I'll be out here in 2 hours. 3 months later, you're still here eating prison food. And you wonder, damn, Lord, it's been a while. Is he the one to come, or do we seek another? I'm joking. You got it.
And Joseph brought the money into Pharaoh's house.
Hmm?
And when money failed in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan, all the Egyptians came unto Joseph and said, give us bread. Well, why should we die in thy presence?
Yeah. So
the money faileth.
There you go. So we spent all the money. You got everything. We don't have anything left. But now what? We gotta strike another deal, or else we're gonna starve to death. So what did Joseph say?
And Joseph said, give your cattle.
Well, if you don't got money, you got something else. Because cattle was also wealth, right? Land, cattle, slaves, hospital, cemetery, a lot of things. These were all wealth. So he said, all right, give me the cattle.
And I will give you your cattle. I will give you for your cattle if money fail.
Now, what you see is, right, here's a modern day, this is how it looks in the modern day, right? Because what you're going to see is Joseph is going to do all right, give me this. Okay, if you don't got this, all right, what else is more valuable? All right, I'll take this then. Okay, now what? Okay, I'll take this. And you know what that is? That's giving, you will own nothing and be happy. Because at the end of it, they own nothing, not even themselves. What was that?
That's the system of pledging.
That's the system of pledging. There you go. Yep, that's it, pledge. And Esau, Edom, they know that. And they're going to use the same system in a modern day sense. Because they're going to confiscate your cars. They're going to confiscate everything you own. They're going to put everything on a subscription basis. They're going to give you the universal basic income to where you're not going to own anything, but you'll be happy. Why are you going to be happy? You're going to be happy because the way they save society to where you don't starve to death anymore is by renewing the system. And the renewal of the system is you not owning anything. Why do you need cars? We got bullet trains and other means to get around. We got 15-minute cities. Where are you going? It's only 15 minutes. You don't need a car. No. If you see a car coming, that's only the top dog elites. So you can tell who it is. Where do you think you're going? Oh, you're going to go on vacation? No. Just put on your VR headset. It'll take you to Maldives. That's your vacation. No. What do you need to sleep with an actual woman for? Just put on the VR headset. Y'all could have fun over there. That way we can control the population. You don't need any of that. So that's what they're doing. It's a whole setup, and they're gonna strip people of everything, just as what's going on over here. Got it.
Genesis 47 and 17, and they brought their cattle unto Joseph. And Joseph gave them bread in exchange for horses, and for the flocks, and for the cattle of the herds, and for the asses.
Now you see how powerful food is, right? Because they knew they weren't. How are you gonna get that back? if all your money is gone and now all your cattle is gone, how are you going to buy back cattle? How are you going to gain those resources back? But they didn't have time to contemplate those. They're starving. Their children are starving. You go 2-3 days without eating, your body's just completely, and especially, nowadays with the diet, the American diet that people eat, you got a lot of parasites inside of you. And those parasites crave. That's where the sweets and all those cravings come from. Yeah, the Reese's Pieces. That comes from them parasites that are inside people's bodies. And those parasites get real angry when you don't eat. They start releasing certain toxins and chemicals inside of you, making you feel so hungry, like, I need a food, I need it. That's why sometimes you fast and you wonder why it is that the things that are coming to your mind to eat is like some wild, crazy ass cravings. Like
Cinnabon.
Yeah, Cinnabon. Angry Orchard beer.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't even drink beer. Why am I thinking about that? Because them parasites are bugging. They're like, yo, I need something now. And if you're not careful, you're gonna submit to them.
That's why brothers got to do a parasite cleanse. Get all that shit out your body. And I think they said if you fast for like 2 or 3 days, basically, it will kill. I think they said 72 hours is the cutoff, dry fast, that it will kill a lot of the parasites in your body. And maybe a little beyond that, you can kill like pretty much all of them. But what happens is there's a die-off. And people are not going to deal with that because it's like, oh, I feel bad. But you have to feel bad before you can feel better. You have to go through that detoxification process. And spiritually, we went through the same thing. People don't want to go through that. They can't even fast for 12 hours. They can't even miss breakfast or one meal and they start losing it. How you going to fast for a day or 2 or 3? You see? And you don't have cattle to give. How many of you super niggas up 125th have cattle and horses and asses? But you got some asses. They're going to be giving up them asses. Matter of fact, they're going to be giving up them asses. All right? It ain't the type of asses that's in this scripture, okay? Y'all going to be giving it up. All right? And it's going to be for, can I have a piece of bread? Please, feed me.
Like boxes of beans.
Yeah, beans. Baked beans. Here's a can of beans. It's 99 cents at the store. Here, bitch. That's what's going to be going down. Y'all don't want to hear the harsh truth, but listen, y'all going to come off that high horse, man. Y'all going to come off that pedestal that Esau had you on. You're going to be all the way in the mire, man. That's what the scriptures say.
From one horse to another.
That's it.
Yep.
Genesis 47.
Hey, but they I remember years ago, the brother Yashalam, he did a video on what was it? What country was this? It was one of the either South or Central America, and he was going into the hardships over there, and how it was very common for women, be it mothers or not, to sell their bodies to make ends meet. Like that was what they had to do to feed their children, and sometimes they would dude will get whatever he wants to get, and then he wouldn't even give them like the full amount, maybe half. But they weren't in a predicament, like where they lived, they weren't in a predicament to like go back and forth with him because he might just kill you, or cut your head off or something like that. And that was like the situation. You had mothers actually selling their children because 1, they needed the money to take care of the rest, but 2, the children will probably be better off sold than to die with them. That's how bad things were over there. And I'm talking about in a time when, like, here society was like normal. It's not like the whole world was messed up. And here, these people are not used to that. They're the second that even the tiniest bit comes their way, they don't know how to be resourceful. Like, for example, if you're like, all right, if you say they like what Trump was saying about funding half, like you're only gonna get half of what you used to get before for SNAP. They don't know how to manage or how to make that last. All they know is no, I want the whole thing. Because instead of 2 loaves, I usually buy 4. And you know what ends up happening? Maybe 1 or 2 of those goes rotten or goes spoiled because they don't eat it in time. So it's just there. We're just wasting space. So they waste resources and they're not resourceful. These people they can't survive, and they are a product of this artificial society because they always think that everything is going to be there. Yeah, no. It's okay. If all hell breaks loose, I'll just call Uber Eats. Oh, you will? Do you know how Uber Eats works? Yeah, you go on the app, you press it, and the app needs Wi-Fi, right? Then there's somebody that actually needs to be in their car on the app working, and the restaurant that makes the food actually got to be open.
And you know that restaurant needs oil and electricity and all that to make the food, right? And you know that if there's no food, they can't make shit. So you got Jake that thinks that, oh, if there's a famine and I can't get food to make, I'm gonna just go to a restaurant and go eat outside. Oh, like the restaurant they just got magic food in their pantry and shit. Like they don't get from the same sources that you get. That's the problem. Jake don't think far enough, you know? And so they'll go full through with it, and then they get to the point where it's like, if you had thought this out, you would have realized ahead of time that this isn't an actual plan that works. But they don't. They just go with it. Man, personally, one of the things that gets me mad is like, if you know that there's a situation up ahead, and you know that it's something that you haven't planned about, but it can be an obstacle, and you just sit there like, I'll just deal with it when I get there. That shit is just like it's like, what does it say? Failing to prepare is preparing to fail. It's literally like saying, you know what? I don't know. Like I have money now to take care of it, but I'm gonna just wait till I get there. How do you know you're gonna have the same money then? Why not do it now that you do have the means to do it? So they don't think ahead. They don't look afar off. It's just about the here and now. Oh, I'm gonna splurge. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna chill. I'm gonna have a good ass time. And then when I get there, I'm gonna cry and come to you and say, yo, you know what I'm saying? I got it. My rent is coming up. Wait, you won the lottery and you bought this expensive ass car. You went and financed this expensive ass car, and now you can't pay rent. But you were balling 2 months ago, wasting money in a club. You literally go to the club and throw money in the air. $100 bills. They just throw $100 bills away. That's called wasting money on a woman. Yeah. I'm gonna make it splurge. You know, yo, I just hit the lottery, bro. Let's go to the club. I'm gonna make it rain. So wait. You won money. You're not an investor. You didn't invest. You're not getting a stream of income coming in. You have a fixed amount of money in a time of heavy inflation. And your first thought is buy the most expensive car, buy an expensive watch, an expensive chain, and then with the rest of the money, go and throw it at women in a club. And then leave $15,000 less than you were when you went in there. And then come home, and then 3 months down the line, you're going bankrupt. Sorry, bro.
Oh no, I'm just gonna add to your point. What you're talking about is that people don't realize that they're all right. So I'm gonna just use. I went to electrical school, so I'm gonna just use electricity as an example. In all these buildings, or in your home, if you're watching it, right? There's electricity in your room, right? In your apartment, house, whatever. And that electricity is not magically there. When you flip on the light, it's not like, oh, okay, well, there's electricity to a degree stored in the house. No, that power comes from something. That power comes far away from where you live, very far away. It comes from a plant. And in that plant, they have something called a transformer. And that transformer is most likely, not most likely, is a step-up transformer. Step up meaning that they step up the voltage because that transformer or that where the power comes from is very far away from you where you live. And that electricity has to come to where you at. So that step-up transformer steps up the voltage, and when you walk, when you drive along the highway and stuff, those long cords that you see, there's voltage going through that to come to your city or where you live at. Then there's another transformer in there that steps it down because you can't have all that voltage coming into your house because it'll be like electro being in your house. It's gonna fry everything. So that next transformer has to step it down. Then there's another one that's like you see on these Aharon probably knows what I'm talking about, but you see them like I don't know what on those poles. That's another transformer, and it'll step it down to a reasonable amount. Usually it'll be like 240, somewhere around 200 to get into your house. Because homes usually use 240. But like I was saying, that electricity is not just in your house. That electricity is far away. And like I explained, the transformers, there's one that steps up, and then when it gets nearer to where you're at, it steps down. And then there's even a third one that steps it down so it can get to your into your house. And if at any point there is a cutoff of that transformer, you're not getting electricity. No matter how much you go like this, you're gonna be like, well, what happened? Well, there's nothing you can do in your house because most likely the transformer has been attacked. So at any point, if that people have to realize there's cutoffs. Right? It's the same thing with like the grocery store. The grocery store just doesn't magically have food. Yes, they have storage in the back that, hey, if anything gets, a whole bunch of stuff gets taken out, they can replace it. But they're getting it from someone. There are trucks that come in, work security and things like that. Sometimes for certain places, they'll bring the supply. And that truck comes from someone. And if any point, like I'm using the word cutoff, if that truck is not able to make it into your city because of some type of traffic or accident, that food is not coming to that grocery store. It just doesn't magically happen. It's not like, again, like the flip of the switch. Oh, electricity. No. At any point that electricity or that transformer is attacked, you can go like this all day. There's no power coming to your house. If that truck is not able to come to your city, there's no food coming there.
Yeah. And people don't think about that because they think, once again, everything is going to continue forever as it was. Oh, yeah, I don't need to worry about how it works. I just know that when I flip the switch, it comes on. And that's all I need to know.
When I go to the grocery store, food is just there.
Right. Because in their minds, it respawns onto the shelf. When everything closes, right? Like in what's the movie? Sausage Party. Yeah, when everything closes, then all the bread they come alive and they run from the freaking bakery and then jump into their packaging and then they just get on the shelves and wait for you. So they just respawn every day. You ask somebody, so what happens if you flip the light switch and it doesn't come on? To me, what happens? Like, why does that matter? Like, why I got to think about that? That's the answer. Why I got to think about that? But then they'll come to you and talk about, what you think about Iggy Azalea Neon. Like she was trying to throw it back on him, but he wasn't really trying to have that. Like, what you think about that? But when you tell them why I gotta worry about that, then to them it's like, listen to this guy. I can't talk to this guy no more. He's no fun. This is why we're like complete polar opposites. And this is why the Lord ain't dealing with majority of this world. And this is why they're able to bring Mamdani up in there. I'm gonna keep talking about that dude because guess what? This is the same reason they're gonna bring them. His name is the Madman from now on. All right, they're gonna bring the Madman in there. He's already in there now. But this is why they can do that right underneath your nose because they know you ain't gonna do anything about it. In fact, you're gonna help them do it. Yeah, that's one of the tactics Esau uses. He gets to the point where he doesn't. Why should he exhaust resources trying to fight you when he can just get you to do what he wants? Before the demic started, right? They said if you were wearing a mask, you looked out of place. I remember that. You get in a train and you see somebody with a mask, you look at them like, yo, maybe they got something. That's why they got a mask on. Them people say, hey, you ain't gonna catch me. I'm not wearing no damn mask. What do you think this is? Because they weren't used to that. And then before you know it, they didn't want to take off the mask. Now they come in there with face shield, armor suits, looking like astronauts and shit. You got somebody with the mask, with the face shield, head and everything all tied up, driving in their car with the windows rolled up. In the summertime. And you're like, yo, what's up with these people, man? But that's how they get you, man. They flip you like that. You don't want to put the mask on, now you don't want to take the mask off. Because it's all psychological games that they play on the minds of these people, man. You're doomed. Got it.
Genesis 47:18. When that year was ended, they came unto him the second year and said unto him, we will not hide it from my Lord, how that our money is spent.
Yo, so like, when somebody comes to ask you for something, and then you give it to them, and then they come back again, and then you give it to them, and then now they need more, but they kind of like, yeah, how am I gonna come back again to this guy? So they'll come up to you and shit. Yo, bro, like they'll talk about something else. Yo, remember that shorty? I was, yo, she cool or whatever. We doing this and that. But nah, I ain't even gonna hold you, bro. Like, I'm kind of tapped out right now. That's what they said. Like, we ain't even gonna hide it from you. Like,
we ain't gonna lie.
that stuff you gave us, like we out of that. So what's up? You got it.
My Lord also hath herds of cattle. There is not aught left in the sight of my Lord, but our bodies and our land. Wherefore shall we die before thine eyes?
So now they came to make another bargain out of desperation. Well, we don't have money, we don't have cattle, but we got us and our land. Maybe you can work something out. And that's how Esau operates. He knows your worth more than you. So he makes it so where you don't know your worth. So here it is. He really needs it, but you end up begging him for it. You end up bargaining with him for it, but he's the one who really needs it. But he's just really good at playing that game of like that poker face. Like, okay, you coming to me or we're talking about, all we got is our body and our land. That's really what he's been looking for the whole time. Like, yes, I want you in slavery. Yes, please give me that labor. But he's not going to show you that because then you're going to be like, oh shit, I have power. They didn't say, all right. So what are you saying? You know, what are you really saying? You guys say that?
It reminds me of Jacob and Esau, the birthright.
Yep. What does it remind you about?
Um,
Oh, about the desperation?
yeah, and Jacob knew the word.
Oh, so he caught him at a time when he was desperate. You know? Because any other time, Esau had probably been like, nah. But you know him.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it shows you also how in times of trouble, look, yeah, so I'm saying that in times of trouble, in times of calamity, what happens? A consolidation of power. So it's very easy for those that are in power to consolidate more power onto themselves when there's a calamity. Conveniently, and that's why we always talk about, well, conveniently this happens, and look how they get more power. Right. Conveniently that happens, and this is a different situation. Now it's even worse to where Esau can actually orchestrate it. This wasn't an orchestrated famine. The Lord just brought this back then. All right, and they were dealing. But now it's to where you don't have cattle, you don't have lands. So they got you in more of a vice grip than ever. They got you in the worst possible predicament of all time. You have no cattle, you have no land, you have nothing. Matter of fact, you've been relying on us for SNAP, and you begging for food. Shit, nigga, here, take this chip. Take it. You be good. Call me back tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? So that's how it's like the drug dealer. You know, you just get the fiends coming back, get the fiends running up the block, right? And eventually, shit, they gonna be so hooked, they're gonna be out here begging for. They'll do anything. I mean, anything for it. You know? And it's a whole bunch of despicable shit that they'll do just to get some of that. And that's where people are at right now. I'm gonna read a little more. It says, Genesis 47 and 19, wherefore shall we die before thine eyes, both we and our land? Buy us and our land for bread, and we and our land will be servants unto Pharaoh, and give us seed that we may live and not die, that the land be not desolate. So yeah, so they said basically take us, take us, we'll be your slave, we'll be your servants. When people are in that position, in that predicament, they are extremely desperate, and they'll do anything for some food, man. When brothers fast, we fast for the day of atonement, some brothers fast throughout the year. We should be, fasting more often because, it's good to get close to the Lord like that. That's between us and Yahweh Shem Chado. But when you do fast, the food that you took for granted, stuff that you just eat on a regular, it's not even a delicacy. A piece of bread looks like a roasted chicken to you. Right. You're like, man, that piece of bread, some bread with some hummus looks like a delicacy. It's just a fruit, something that people take for granted. They won't even think twice about it. But when a famine hits, that piece of bread is that's like touching the cloud, right? At that point. So that's the level of desperation they had back then. They were like, listen, we'll do whatever, man. Take us. I'll be your slave forever. Just give me some bread, please. So I'm gonna read on.
Hey, and I was gonna say that that goes to show you, now you good to where even things that are not delicacies start to look like delicacies. That's how people end up committing cannibalism. When would you ever look at another human being? Matter of fact, even worse, when would you ever look at your own child and think like, hey, looking like a snack? It would never even cross your mind. If anything, your mind is like, yo, if anything happened, I'm sacrificing time for you. But that's how hungry you gotta be to where now you like, yo, hey, you know what I'm saying? You've been putting on a lot of weight. You know what I'm saying? I might need to pull the Hansel and Gretel on you, throw your ass in the oven for a bit. Oh, that's it. Yep. Do pull up eating.
They're gonna get Fleece Johnson level of hungry.
Yeah.
That nigga was hungry. But it shows you he was in a desperate situation. No woman.
Yeah. You finish your point.
Oh, yeah. I was gonna say, that's a desperate situation, especially if you don't have no discipline. You go in prison, there's no women around. Fleece Johnson said, fuck it. We did some detestable shit. Yeah. So when there's not the same thing that you take for granted all day long, you will do things unimaginable horrors. That's why the scriptures talks about many great miseries, because the people have walked in great pride. So you will do that. I would never do that in a million trillion years. And you're going to be in that position. You'll be looking, and you might have an out of body experience looking at yourself doing this shit, you know, cutting into your own child, man.
Yeah. Crazy. You got it, bro.
Awesome.
Yeah, I was gonna say that point that y'all brothers making in regards to what Joseph did, right, in ancient Egypt, right? That same blueprint is what these elites are trying to use upon the face of the earth right now. All right, especially here in America. America is spiritual Egypt. All right, so what do you think is about to happen, right, with modern day Egypt? All right, same exact thing. And you notice you go back probably like
Yeah, I'm
50,
coming.
60,
That's my
70 years
thought.
ago. Right, 50, 60, 70 years ago, you had people who were able to own things, right? You had privatization, right? You had people who had farms, they had cattle, they had animals, they had, you know, you go to the, even the elder part of the